Hello, and you are listening to Half Hour History, the show where you might learn something, but we guarantee nothing. I'm Jacinta.
I'm Luke.
And this time we're talking about
the Fremantle Lunatic Asylum.
Spoopy.
Is this the spoopiest episode ever? Because isn't this the most haunted place in Western Australia?
It is the most haunted place in the Southern Hemisphere, man.
Is that true?
It is. It is one of the most haunted places in the Southern Hemisphere.
Holy shit, and it is not that far from here.
No, it is not. And I would like to start off by saying that, look, the podcast is haunted. We have a very lovely, benevolent ghost, Prince Eddie.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit concerned about perhaps invoking some of these ghosts, because these ghosts have no chill. So I would maybe like to ask a benevolent podcast ghost, Prince Eddie, to maybe just watch our backs and maybe, have a little ghostly stick and maybe ward off any of the weirdo insane asylum ghosts.
Now, are you genuinely a bit, spooked out by the Fremantle Arts Centre, which is formerly the asylum?
Yeah, it's now the Fremantle Arts Centre and has been for quite a long time. I'm fucking terrified of ghosts and spirits and shit like that. I don't know why. There is no logical reason for me to be scared of these things, but yet here we are. And I've been to the Arts Centre quite a few times because they have a lot of concerts and stuff there in the grounds on the front lawn and the back lawn and stuff like that. But I have probably been in the building 3 times, including the time that we went recently. I went in probably the mid-90s as a kid, and because it used to be the Fremantle sort of museum as well before they built the big maritime museum. It was just sort of this one and the shipwreck museum. And I went into Freo with my nan and one of her sisters, and they said, "Oh, do you want to go to the museum?" And I was a kid, a little nerdy kid, and I was like, fucking oath, I want to go to the museum. Of course I do. And
you bet your tits, Nan.
Absolutely.
That's probably what you said.
And I walked in and I went I didn't know anything. I was a dumb little kid. I didn't know shit. And I walked in and I was like, this is wrong. This is a bad place. The grounds, no problem. The grounds were fine. But walking in there, and remember back in the 90s, we went there and everything's all really nicely repainted and it's very much, it is 100% the Arts Centre now. Back then, it was not quite as nice looking. It looked like a fucking asylum. There were some doors and stuff that I specifically remember that were very kind of barred off, that you definitely were not allowed to go anywhere near, and it scared the shit out of me. And I wasn't until many, many years later that I went through, because I had to, for a concert, had to walk through part of the building for a little bit. And I don't like going in there because it's creepy.
Well, I heard some hype from you about it. I've heard hype from others and people getting bad feelings and seeing weird things in there.
Yeah.
So this was, I didn't do any research usually, but we did. On the holidays, we went on a little trip because it's not far away.
Yeah.
And we went to this thing to see if the hype was real.
Yeah.
And to have a look.
Yeah, and I mean, driving up to the place, it's a very imposing looking building.
You can tell that, I said straight away, oh, is that the haunted building?
Yeah.
And I have been there before. I've got vague memories of being there before. And I really wanted to get in and get upstairs and walk around up the top there in some of those areas. And I actually, luckily, did get to have a bit of a walk up there. You didn't come up there with me, did you? You stayed on the stairs.
I stayed on the stairs because there was an augmented reality tour you could do that was relating to the World War II history of the place. And so I did that, and that was really cool. But the scene that I was watching was taking place on the stairs, so I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't want to go up any further. But also because now that it's the Arts Centre, back when it was kind of half museum, half Arts Centre, you could wander wherever you wanted. Yeah. But now it's a bit more. It was a weekday. People were doing their classes, and people were there doing things. And I didn't really want to kind of get up in people's faces when they're just doing their stuff.
We're lucky because at first when we got there and we were walking around the grounds, I thought, oh, we're not going to actually get to go into any of these areas because I wanted to just see what I felt like in there. And because you had that augmented reality thing, there was a point where we got to go past one of the staff and students only points. And I took that a little bit further and walked upstairs and had a little bit of a wander down the corridor back and forth. And I got to say, I ain't afraid of no ghost. I felt fine. I didn't feel any dread.
We weren't there for very long, to be fair. We were probably only inside for maybe 10, 15 minutes or so. It wasn't a long time. But there's some weird shit there. Like, there's that room with a door and a balcony inside that goes nowhere.
Yeah, and you've got these floor plans here. I guess originally the ground floor of the building extended past there, but looking at the top floor there, I can't see where that balcony and door go to. And it was interesting. You're sort of on the stairs and there's like this floating balcony above you which has a door that sort of leads into a sort of sideways corridor. Yeah. So you're just basically seeing a wall on the other side of the door. You can't, strain to see what is on the left or right of that door. And there was a very thick layer of dust on the floor, so no one had walked on that balcony for a very long time. But yeah, it was a mysterious balcony that didn't seem to go anywhere. And
there's a bit in the outside that's always, I'm sure it's just some architectural construction thing, but it's always freaked me out. Like, there's a door on the second floor, or the first floor or whatever, that it just leads out. There's no balcony, there's no nothing. There's three kind of struts of wood that kind of jut out. So maybe there used to be a balcony or something there.
Looking at this floor plan, I mean, yeah, there was definitely more building underneath there, but it doesn't show building on top. So I don't know. But he has a rich history. Yeah. And that's what I want to hear about now, having walked around the place for a bit.
It's a freaky deaky joint. And when I was doing research and stuff for this last night, I was watching some like videos and stuff that people had put up when they've been walking around the art centre, and like some, psychics doing ghost tours and stuff like that. And I proceeded to scare the shit out of myself before there was just two perfectly lovely girls going to like the Fremantle, like the Christmas markets they have in the grounds. And they're like, oh, we're just going to walk around with our phone and just record a whole bunch of stuff. And it was that weird thing, like if you're watching a movie with a really restricted view, like you're expecting jump scares to happen at any moment, which is ridiculous. Like they're just girls walking around with their phones, And she turned to look into a room where there was like glass on the door sort of thing. And because the phone at first didn't focus and look in the room, it looked at the reflection on the glass, which was sort of her ghostly figure. And I just shit myself. And I went, okay, you know what? We're stopping here. It's the night time. I'm not going to scare the shit out of myself before I even do these notes. And this place gets me a little bit on edge. It's creepy, it's weird, and I don't like it very much.
I just want to say as well, and I haven't read your notes, so I don't know if you're going to mention this. So apologies if you do. But if you go there now, and there's like a gallery space and stuff, there's nothing about, like, if this is the most haunted place in the Southern Hemisphere, they're not pushing that as a tourist thing. No. Sounds like, yes, they had ghost tours or something in the past, but there is nothing about ghosts or haunting evident at this place at all. Like, I didn't see any plaques or information about it, or even in the gift shop, anything that would suggest that they were kind of teasing that as a bit of a publicity thing. Like, there's no reference to it at all when you go there.
I think there's definitely a feeling of wanting to downplay that dark past, because there's some pretty fucked up stuff that happened there. And when it was a museum, there was stuff about the asylum there, but that has all been obviously dismantled and isn't there anymore, because when we went in, we went to the right, which is where sort of the old building was, but to the left is where the museum part was, and that was the section where I particularly remember feeling the most unsettled, and we didn't go there at all because that's where a lot of the classrooms and stuff are now. Yeah, but
that bit where we went upstairs, we found out through the augmented reality, that was where the brig was during World War II, and they said that's where the murderers and rapists were. And that's where I was like walking around. But I wasn't scared of no ghost. I was like, come at me, bro, I'm ready.
Good for you then.
Yeah. Look, I'm pretty tough. Okay. Tell me this history.
All right. So, as we've established, the Fremantle Arts Centre began life in 1861, not as an art centre, but as a lunatic asylum.
All your favourite lunatics were there: Sylvester, Tweedy, Bugs, Daffy.
There was an overflow of mentally ill convicts that couldn't be housed in the main prison up the road, so a custom facility was built. And it's about, I would just say, about 15-minute walk out of the Freo town centre. It's out of town, but it's not very far away. Yeah. So overlooking the ocean, yet removed from the town, the asylum was thought to be a scenic and healthful environment for the insane. Construction took 4 years to complete and was built by convict labour out of limestone, which is the same as what the prison was built out of, and was notoriously easy to escape from.
And is the most spoopy building material ever.
It is, yeah. It's all those holes. The asylum contained sleeping wards, dining rooms, exercise yards, a wash house, kitchens, 2.7 by 2.3 metre cells, staff quarters, and a 1.8 metre tall wall that divided the building into male and female wards. Padded cells ran along the wall near where the concrete couch stands in the front courtyard today. So remember where that concrete couch was when we walked in?
This thing, how big was the wall?
1.8 metres.
Okay, yes, 6 foot.
Yes, yep. The building initially housed 58 free and convict inmates, with 33 men and 25 women.
A lot of stolen bread.
Yes, lots of stolen bread. So as you can imagine, mental health care wasn't real great back in the 1860s.
It's probably like in the 1860s, mental health care in Australia was probably similar to what it's like now in America, I would think.
And due to a lack of knowledge and understanding, people were admitted to the asylum for any old reason. So it was common for any form of perceived social deviancy, be it criminality, poverty, depression, alcoholism, mental illness, or activities then considered sexually deviant, to be labelled lunacy.
Like what? Masturbation?
Probably. I probably imagine that homosexuality would most likely be considered lunacy.
Probably a lot of hysterical women in there with their hysteria.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, remember Moondyne Joe from our earlier episode? He was admitted to the asylum at an advanced age, suffering from dementia. And he tried to escape a bunch of times, because that's what Moondyne Joe does. Can't keep a good Joe down.
Sure can't. Well, he sounds like he was a bit of a sloppy Joe by that stage.
Oh yeah, I think he probably was, with his oh god, what was he with his bear coat?
Yes.
And his nice hat. Yeah.
And his bare bum.
So tragically, the asylum also housed women who were admitted or simply abandoned by their husbands or families for behaviour that would not be considered a mental illness today. So,
like cooking chops on chicken night?
For example, one patient's epilepsy was diagnosed as a form of dementia, and several Japanese prostitutes were admitted by their goldfields owners/pimps after contracting venereal disease.
Gosh.
Yeah, so you've got a bit of an itch, and then off you go to the asylum.
There you are.
Yeah. Though I think back in the old days, like, syphilis did make you a bit...
Yeah,
syphilis did something bad to you, yeah.
Affected your brain.
Yeah, it did. Ate your brain.
And killed you.
Yeah. Patients were referred to as prisoners and were locked into the guarded grounds. Incoming patients had their heads shaved and were given second-hand prison uniforms and blankets. Patients also varied greatly in age, with reports of one patient being 9 years old. With no active therapy, very few of these patients had their symptoms improve, and many stayed for 20 to 40 years, or just until they died. So daily life at the asylum involved a routine of work and recreation. Men baked, cut firewood and pumped water. Women ran the wash house, laundering garments for the asylum and the nearby prison. Cards, chess and reading provided entertainment, and regular performances were put on by local musical societies. I hear their favourite was Kinky Boots. There was a Fremantle Asylum cricket team and 2 religious services a week. So I wonder who the cricket team played. Like, did they go out and play other teams, or did they just play themselves?
Yeah, that seems like a bit of a contradiction to me. This idea of this tight, locked up lifestyle, but then they're out playing cricket.
Yeah, it looked like some pictures that I saw. you know how across the road now there's like a rec centre and a park and all that sort of thing. I think originally a lot of that was, I don't know if it was asylum grounds, but it looked like it had like a big wall around all that area too.
We just had them out on really long chains.
Yeah.
went out across the road.
Like those little leashes you put on babies.
And they just like wind them back in at the end once they've tied themselves out.
Like a fishing reel. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a time when mental health care involved like catching people in large butterfly nets.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. By 1898, several incidents brought the asylum under investigation. An inquiry found one nurse guilty of keeping patients awake at night by sticking them with hat pins.
Oh, fuck.
One male patient evaded an orderly's watch and succeeded in hanging himself from a barred window. And also there was another story. I can't remember the lady's name, but like she was a lady. She was admitted there. Her husband came to visit her, and she was just all like beaten up, had like a black eye and all this stuff. And he was like, "Oh fuck, that's a bit weird." And it was her, basically like her roommate, like her sort of cellmate that she was with, was like really quite violent. And the husband came to visit her, and she was all beaten up. And then 3 days later, he gets a telegram going, your wife's died. Can you just like get in touch with us to organise the funeral? And the roommate had murdered her.
Right.
Yeah, fucked up.
Spoopy.
Yeah. The asylum was condemned in 1900 due to overcrowding, insufficient staff, and the ability to separate docile from dangerous patients. By 1908, all patients were relocated to a newly built facility in Claremont, which I guess is Greylands. I didn't realise that Greylands was quite that old.
Yeah, right.
There you go. After 1909, the building became a women's home. Most of the women who resided there were regarded as being of low social standing, among them children, the elderly, the destitute, abandoned wives, and unmarried mothers. Once the women arrived, their freedoms, rewards, and routines were decided by matrons. Ooh, matron. Upstairs, one old ward was renovated to house female wards of the state. So these girls were essentially prisoners, considered beyond reform due to sexual promiscuity, venereal disease, or a history of prostitution. Naughty girls.
Yeah. The bad girls wing.
Yeah. It'd be like, there was a movie to just be like Aubrey Plaza sitting there, fucking cigarette, just hazing all the new girls who come in.
The spoopy bad girls.
Because, nobody gives a shit about women back then or today. There was never enough funding to maintain the building. So rat, termite and cockroach infestations combined with rising damp, structural collapse and poor sanitation blighted the home. The women were moved out in 1941, just prior to World War II, but apparently their new digs weren't much better. But they had a very nice life, didn't they?
Well, I'm trying to gather, our potential ghosts here. And a lot of people are having a shithouse time there, but then they're getting relocated, so they can't be haunting the place. There
are a lot of people who died there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, beat up cellmate, she'll still be hanging around.
Yeah, maybe. During World War II, the site became US Navy Supply Depot 137, which is a base for the US submarine efforts in the Pacific. 160 servicemen and 102 civilians worked at the depot, which consisted of the original building and 22 temporary constructions. A movie hall was set up in the main gallery, a laundry building was built in the northeastern corner of the site, and a radio and radar repair shop was dug out of the front garden's retaining wall. And I was thinking that, how we went down to the front lawn and there was the stage, and it almost looked like there was a gate where you could go underneath the stage?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was the radar repair shop, but I don't think that's what they mean by the front wall. I think the front wall is what they mean when we came in.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure, but that was weird.
That was a spooky place for ghosts, I thought.
Yeah, I bet there are spookies.
Some spooky things. I wasn't very scared, but remember we saw that small white hooded figure that was walking in front of us for a while, or just appeared?
Yeah.
And then it had a white hood.
Yeah, and then took it off, and oh no, it's a small child.
It was a child in a hoodie, but they were still pretty spooky.
It was pretty
because
spooky.
We don't know. Like we could have asked at the front desk, and they could have said, "No, there's no children here today."
Yeah. Oh, what children's activities are you carrying? Oh, there's no kids today. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All those kids we saw.
Yeah.
Who were
all
frolicking
dead.
all dead children.
That's a sunny thought. The depot included a pub stocked with Swan Lager. Haven't they suffered enough?
That's spooky.
A munition store, vehicle pool, and a 24-hour coffee station. An assault on WA by the Japanese was considered highly likely after the fall of Singapore, and officers patrolled the depot with rifles, bayonets, and submachine guns. A military prison with 4 detention cells housed German and Italian prisoners of war, all the murderers and rapists and all the shady dudes.
Well, looking at this, there's the cell block is on the bottom.
Yeah. Which
would have been those dudes. And then the brig prison cells are on the top. With all those murderers and rapists.
Yeah.
And then that's where I was.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, you were.
Looking for ghosts.
Yeah. The augmented reality tour was actually really cool. Really cool innovation, and it did. It
was a window through time.
It was a window through time, and it just showed you all the different areas and the buildings that had been there. And I like the story of when the sailors, the seamen, would come back.
We saw some CGI seamen through the time window.
When they would come back for R&R, they would just go straight to the laundry building because that's where all the ladies were.
And they were saying like hot dog, Yankee Doodle and stuff like that while they were hanging there.
Yeah.
And they gave a little boy some Bazooka Joe gum, I think.
Oh, they did, yes. Yeah. Have you got any candy, mister? After the war, the building was looking like total shit, and people started talking about demolition. But luckily, a lot of the locals, including the Fremantle mayor at the time, thought it deserved to be saved because it was such an important part of Fremantle's history, and they fought hard to keep it alive. Because basically, behind the building is the John Curtin School for young fellas, and they were like, well, can't we just have that site and can't we have it as like sports ground? And everyone's like, no, we need to keep it. So they kept it, which is fantastic because private schools don't need any more shit. In 1967, state funding was secured to establish a museum and community arts centre in the building. The museum operated at the site from 1970 and the arts centre opened in 1973. They cohabited until 2010 when the WA Museum decided to move their collection to the new Maritime Museum and the Shipwreck Museum. And since then, it has been all arts centre all the time.
Yes.
Yes.
And we got to see an exhibition where one of the paintings moved. That was very spooky. And one of them was like a skull.
Well, one moved.
Well, yeah, I think it was Lenticular.
Oh, okay. Was it? Oh,
Lenticular, the spookiest rulers of them all.
I just like the one with all the cartoon animals. Like one little animal for each country. That was my favourite. Yeah, not very spooky.
Animals talking. That's like Black Phillip shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie, but I understand the meme. Yeah.
Crazy.
So, with a history as varied and horrible as this, it is no surprise that the building is haunted as shit and is considered to be one of the most haunted places in the Southern Hemisphere. So, there's a few regular ghosts who make an appearance. So, one is known as, I think, either the Black Lady or the Lady in Black. And she is an elderly lady who is seen wandering the corridors. The story goes that she was hospitalized with a mental illness, possibly brought on by her daughter being taken away from her. And it's said that she ended her life by jumping out of a first floor window.
Probably went through that door that goes nowhere.
Yeah, probably. She was just, oh, you're in here, Tessie? And she walked out and impaled herself. Yeah.
Had a Roadrunner moment.
Yeah. She still searches for her daughter today, and she seems to really like people with red hair. People have reported, little kids with red hair have reported feeling that their hair's been pulled, and even adults with red hair have felt ghostly hands.
Oh, so that was part of my problem. I didn't get any love from the woman in black.
Yeah, because you're not a rang.
Not a rang.
Not a rang, mate. A child's voice has also been heard in the room from which the woman jumped to her death. I don't like ghostly children voices. Like, that's another level for me.
Have you got any gum, mister?
There is a kissing ghost. which sounds far more pleasant and does pretty much do what it says on the tin. People have experienced being touched by phantom lips.
Oh.
The ghost who walks and the ghost who kisses.
There's Onion Head, aka Slimer.
Yeah.
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 He'll be found eating from a food cart.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So one prick ghost in particular likes pushing people down the stairs, and all the psychics and ghost hunters that have been through there consider him to have really super bad juju. There's a guy called Anthony Grzelka who I think he used to have a show like ages ago. He's sort of considered to be Australia's ghost whisperer sort of guy.
Yeah.
He stayed the night in the building with the TV crew to film some shit and, I don't know, summon demons into themselves or whatever, because, like, honestly, no good can come of staying in this building overnight. He saw the very tough and hardened spirit of a man standing halfway down a corridor. Anthony immediately felt extremely uneasy about the spirit. My impressions were that he was not an inmate of the asylum when it was operating, but a very nasty nurse or warden type, Anthony says. With this type of energy, I can't begin to fathom the types of things he did to those poor souls who were patients in that place many years ago. This very unpleasant man has been here a long time, perhaps 100 years or so from the look of his demeanour and dress. Anthony later discovered that several security guards refused to enter that part of the asylum after a couple of them had been pushed down a stairwell. I knew it was this nasty chap in the hall who was responsible, Anthony says. Anthony later moved into an area he described as one of the most haunted locations he had ever visited.
Can I just interrupt for a second? If I'm Anthony's producer here,
yeah,
like putting up the money for this,
yeah,
I'm like, you had a job to go in there, spend the night, and film ghosts. So you saw a ghost.
Yeah.
You were looking at his like costume and working out how old he was, etc. But you didn't film him? Well, you fucking dickhead.
Well, there was actually, I watched one of his ghost tour videos as well that's on YouTube, and that was pretty creepy too, because it was all these like, basically all women that were with him, and I think it was probably this guy that kind of turned up, and he's just saying, there's sort of energy around this area, and he's really attracted, like wanting to be around the women of the group, and the women are just like, oh, fuck that. And he's saying that the energy that's coming is sort of like kind of violent sexual sort of energy, like he wants to do kind of bad things, and all these women are just like, are you fucking serious? I don't want to be involved with this. And then like this particular ghost started throwing rocks at them. Like a few of them were like, what the fuck is that? And they got hit in the head with something, and they bent down, and there's like this little pebble on the ground that was like nowhere there before. And sure, I know cynics are going to go say, oh, there's a producer there and he's like throwing rocks at them and shit. But like, I don't know. I think when you're in that moment and you're so invested in the situation that you're in, like you're going to believe that. And there was one where they just had the camera there and they were panning across the room, and like, because the ghosts don't show up as a man standing there in 100-year-old dress. They show up as like, you've heard of like orbs and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, and there were quite a few orbs coming up on this thing, and they had their EMF reader things, and they were triggering off in certain places and stuff like that. So yeah, like I wish I didn't believe, but I do believe, and it freaks me out.
All right, I don't have daughters, but if anybody out there does, and they're like, I'm gonna go down to Freo prison and I'm gonna be in the dark room overnight with this guy who's gonna be like, some bad energy in here, some bad sexual energy. You might feel something on your breasts or butt. Don't go there. Don't go on that tour.
And the thing was, go
in a group.
He goes, he's like, well, there's spirits in this room. Can they make themselves known by like making a noise or something? And then they go, okay, can you make yourself known? But like, can you like touch somebody? And I know that if I was on a tour like that, and if someone that I was with, as a joke, like touched my hair or my back, I would turn around and punch them in the fucking face, because I would be so wired at that moment that I'd be like, look, I know theoretically I would not be able to punch a ghost in the face, but if I felt there was something behind me, whatever was behind me would cop it.
I'm disappointed that I would like to do a ghost tour.
You can feel... They do have them. There's a ghost tour that I found last night. I think it's like $85. They run it every Friday night, I think, and you go to the prison, the art centre, and the Roundhouse, which is meant to be...
Oh, so you still... Okay. Let's do this.
No way! No way.
It would be great.
No
Let's
way.
do it, seriously.
Not in a million years. I would rather fucking die.
No, it'll be good.
No, because the Roundhouse, I don't know if it's actually the Roundhouse that's haunted or it might be the Shipwreck Museum that he hangs around at, but there was a little boy who was wrongfully convicted of murdering somebody.
Yeah, okay, so he's fine.
And he was hung there.
Yeah.
And so he still haunts the place. This poor little lad.
This hung lad, you can hear his penis dragging along the floor.
Yeah, no, because the Roundhouse was like the original prison before they built the actual prison. So there was some stuff that happened there. But no, I would honestly rather die than go on a ghost tour of any of those places.
I'll give him a roundhouse kick.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway,
I want to go on a ghost tour, though.
Well, you can fucking go with somebody else.
Suzanne, will you go on a ghost tour?
Yay!
If that didn't
you
pick
probably
up,
couldn't hear that. She said, fuck no.
All right, a listener who's going to go with me. Someone will.
Someone nominate yourself, because it's not going to be me, friends. I'll go during the day. I will not go at night. I would honestly, I would rather die. So anyway, Anthony has gone into like a super haunted area. The thing I noticed almost immediately when I entered this area was a strong smell of burning, the overpowering acrid stench of flesh burning, he said. It wasn't until the next morning that he learnt the area had been used at the turn of the century to administer electric shock treatments to its patients.
How does this guy know what flesh burning smells like? I don't.
What do you mean? Don't you like cook steak and stuff?
Is that what we smell like if we were burning?
Well, yeah, I mean, our flesh is like the most close to like pigs and stuff.
Right.
So whatever pig smells like cooking, that's probably what we smell like.
So like the Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon's burning away and everybody's just like, fuck, that smells great.
Probably. Yeah, well, I don't know, because there would be like Qui-Gon has...
a lot of hair.
And so the hair smells bad
They don't
when it
shave
burns.
that before? I guess they didn't.
No, well, you look like he still had his hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, the delicious kind of porky, bacony, crackling smell is being overshadowed by the burning hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Another member of his crew recounted this story. Just after midnight, the security guard kindly permitted us to leave the first floor and wander into the grounds. Pitch black and guided only by torchlight, Anthony led us over to what was once the padded cell area. Within seconds of standing near the towering limestone walls, all of us sensed a chill.
Fuck off, that area of Frio is going to be pitch black.
Anthony became aware of 3 young women in spirit. The 3 girls were sisters. They were the daughters of someone prominent in the community at that time. One sister had a mental health issue, the other 2 did not. Perceived shame surrounded the 3 sisters. The exact nature of that shame was unclear to Anthony. I feel the shame is political rather than immoral, said Anthony. I feel the girls were locked away out of sight to protect a political career rather than for the benefit of the girls' health. Anthony was quiet for a while, then said, the 3 sisters died here. They were only teenagers. But before they died, they were exploited sexually. I feel money changed hands and these girls were used for sexual favours, said Anthony. As Anthony was being told parts of the sister's life incarcerated behind the foreboding Gothic limestone walls of the asylum, he felt the urge to move to different areas within the grounds.
Hang on, so is this guy just like... Is he telling this because he's read up on it, or is he trying to say, oh, I'm just standing here and I'm feeling this story like those like TV psychic dudes?
Yeah, he's TV psychic dude, and that he's being told the stories.
Okay.
Yeah. I lost my spot.
That guy was saying gubbins.
He may well have been saying gubbins, but they also put up a photo where at some point during the conversation the sisters had told them to take a photo, and in the photo there was 3 orbs in the photo, and none of the other photos that they took after that moment had those reflection orby things in them.
Yeah. This guy's probably photographed a few orbs in his sex pest tour. Allegedly. Not really. I don't know. I just made that up.
Afterwards, we learned near to where the padded cell is today, the exterior boundary wall had a hole in it. Through that hole, the bodies of the dead were passed and loaded onto a horse-drawn cart, the 3 sisters included. And the place where the sisters said they were exploited is reported to be where the bathhouses once stood. So the 3 sisters were only in their late teens. And sadly, their life was cut short, not by an act of God, but by an act of so-called humanity. Even if Anthony had been able to capture their names, it's unlikely official records of their committal exist today, because it was all a cover-up. Yeah. So that's the creepy old Frio Art Centre.
Yeah, that just makes me want to go back again.
Yeah.
But I want to go back at night and I want to see a spoopy ghost.
Yeah, well you can go and do that. But
because if you actually saw a spoopy ghost, then wouldn't that just change your complete view of the world?
No.
I think it
I probably wouldn't fucking sleep again for the rest of my life.
Because, I don't believe in anything.
Okay. Well, I wish I didn't believe in anything. I wish I could walk into that place and not be, freaked out by weird shit in there. But I cannot.
When you hear people say stuff like, oh, I saw an angel, and you think, how does that just not... if you really saw an angel, how would that just not change your entire, sense of what the world is?
I don't know.
That would be... Yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah. But, if things are... As you believe, you see an angel they're so pure and shit, the eyes would burn out. So if anyone says that they see an angel and they still have their eyeballs, I suspect they're probably lying.
Well, that's not very good publicity on the angel's part, is it?
Yeah. Anyway, so I wasn't really planning on doing a Halloween episode at all, but some forced rescheduling meant that it kind of worked out this way. So it worked out quite well, and as we had made a visit to aforementioned art centre, it was probably made sense to do it sooner rather than later. So yeah, that's the art centre. I don't know how well this episode is going to translate for people who can't actually go there or haven't been there to experience this building, but you never know. There may be an appeal for our overseas listeners / friends.
Everyone likes a ghost story.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Except I ain't afraid of no ghost.
Yeah, good on you. So that is us, I think, this time around. Yeah. I can't remember what we have next. I think the next one might be a tie-in to the Thor Ragnarok-y movie that's coming out. So that'll be a pretty fun one.
Are you ready to Ragnarok?
Yo! Go and visit us at fruitlesspursuits.com. You can find older episodes of this show, all the other episodes and shows and business and whatever that we do.
So good at it. So good.
I'm getting the information across. It's my own in my own time, man.
They're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, look, people know by now. It's fine. And you can go to the Facebook page and join us and discuss things. And on the Facebook page and on our Patreon, if you do go there is a bonus episode that we weren't able to release to iTunes. So make sure that you do check that one out as well. That was the Entombed Miner.
Tell us if you believe in ghosts and if you've ever honestly believed that you've seen a ghost, and also if you'll go on the ghost tour with me. Yeah,
Luke wants some friends to go on the ghost tour. I reckon there would be a couple of our listeners who would be willing to go on the ghost tour with you.
Yeah.
I will not.
Yeah.
But maybe they will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we will see you in a couple of weeks.
I reckon Freo is probably scary enough at night as it is.
Freo's scary enough during the day.
Just because of the people.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Badonkadonk.